Thank you, Chair. Thank you for appearing again today, Mr Kershaw and your people. According to our Commonwealth Constitution's opening sentence, Australia is constituted as a Christian country. What's being done to charge those preachers in mosques of preaching hatred and threatening violence and use of physical force against Christians here in our country, and bring such hate preachers to justice?
Senator, I can take that one. Obviously, we're very concerned where online hate speech and other actions of hate occur in the community. We're obviously work in partnership with our state and territory colleagues who are often first responders to certain offences. The AFP does not monitor the internet. We certainly review any allegation that relates to hate speech targeting any protected group against the Commonwealth offences that are available to us, and we do assess the content in those circumstances. Often involve the obtaining of legal advice. These are offences that change over time in terms of what offence may look like, decisions of court and those sort of things. So we always ensure that at the time we are looking at not only current but past conduct, that we evaluate that conduct against not only the offences but the standards and decisions of courts in the jurisdiction where the offence occurred.
Have any such preachers of hate in Australia been charged? And if not, why not?
I don't have those statistics relevant.
Is it possible to get them?
I'm happy to take that question on notice. And are you referring just to the AFP, I take it, because that's all we can respond to?
Yes. Yeah.
Chair, I just do have a point of order. I think in the circumstances this country finds ourselves, to leave on the record uncorrected the statement from Senator Roberts that the Constitution establishes Australia as a Christian country is unconscionable. Can I say the preamble to the Constitution references the blessing of Almighty God. So far as I can remember, Christianity does not have a monopoly on the concept of Almighty God, and we shouldn't allow that on the record.
It's a Christian God.
Senator Shoebridge, thank you. You're welcome to go and post those thoughts on Facebook. Senator Roberts is able to make his views known, and people can take them at his word, knowing his past reputation for fact. I'm not saying that you are misleading the Parliament.
Where this is going.
But that you have your views and they're well known, and I think people can take your statements together with your previous statements. Senator Shoebridge, I don't think anyone would be concerned at all about statements about the Constitution in this Senate. People say a lot of different things that aren't true from time to time. People can just read it. It's a document. I think we can move on. Senator Roberts, do you have any other questions?
Yes, I do. There have recently been faith-based crimes committed in Australia involving firebombings, graffiti painted on buildings, cars damaged and hate symbols displayed. How many arrests have been made, and what's being done to identify these criminals and bring them to justice?
Again, Senator, happy to take those matters. Again, we can only speak on behalf of the AFP. Certainly from Commonwealth offences, not only the recent legislative amendment on the 8th of February that's been described as the Hate Crimes Bill, but other offences available in the Commonwealth, including the Prohibited Hate Symbols and Other Measures Act. This legislation is available to our state and territory colleagues as well, and they can use those offences where state offences don't apply. In terms of, and I'm happy to go since the 8th of January 2024, which is when the prohibited hate symbols came into effect, we have not charged anyone in relation to prohibited Nazi symbols under 80.2H of the Criminal Code Act 1995. However, we have charged 2 individuals in respect to the prohibited terrorist organisation symbols, so the intentional public display of prescribed terrorism organisation symbols. And we've also issued a direction under section 82.K for the display of a prohibited terrorist organisation symbol. We have not charged anyone in terms of the trading of symbols, and but we do have a number of investigations on the books with respect to prohibited terrorist symbols generally. In terms of the advocating terrorism, which is again the current version of the offence, which came into effect in December 2023. We haven't charged anyone, and this is around advocating terrorism under Section 82C of the Criminal Code. However, the prior version, which was available between 2021 and 2023, we had charged 10 persons for advocating terrorism under Section 82.C of the Criminal Code. And as I mentioned, there was some updated hate crimes offences that came into effect on the 8th of February this year. Those offences are yet to be utilised by the AFP.
Thank you. Minister, this question is for you. Will non-citizens convicted of hate crimes be subject to deportation?
I'll have to take that question on notice.
Thank you. Back to the AFP. Do AFP officers need to get permission from a higher authority before making an arrest, or may an AFP officer exercise their discretion to make an arrest for a crime unfolding in front of them?
Normally, Senator, depending on the nature of the event, if it's a public order matter and some other particular matters, a senior officer can direct someone to be arrested. But there is what we call the Office of Constable, which is independent, an independent office. It goes back to way back in the day to the UK, and that's about an individual officer, is held liable if they make the arrest, and it turns out that it's their decision. Independent of anyone else. So you could have a situation where one officer may gather some facts and say, I'm okay to arrest that person, and another officer may say, I'm going to use a summons, I'm not going to arrest them, I'm going to treat it differently or give them a caution. So, and we as senior officers have to respect that and understand that. So discretion is really important, and we teach that and we train that with our officers.
Thank you. Is there an ongoing training program for AFP officers in relation to rapidly evolving legislation relevant to the issues I've raised today? Mr. Knott, is it? Knott alluded to that numbers of legislation that have come in recent years.
There's others on the table in terms who are responsible for our legislative reform area, but our legislative reform area does work with not only providing guidance to staff, which then does get incorporated into relevant training programs, but we also work closely with the Attorney General's Department, who has the responsibility with respect to the Commonwealth legislation, and they provide materials not only to us but also to our state and territory partners on guidance in the application of Commonwealth offences, particularly new ones. I won't speak on behalf of the Attorney General's Department, but when we have new legislation that relates to areas of mutual interest with our state and territory police, we provide that advice to them by essentially circulating the Attorney General's Department's material, and in certain circumstances, for example in the espionage and foreign interference arena, we developed a training course and provided it to the state and territory police to assist their officers and for them to incorporate into their own training program. We aren't responsible for training state and territory police.
Thank you. Last question, Chair. There's been a lot of violence displayed on the internet and on TV news, etc., for the last 12 months or so. When will Christian, Jewish and other followers of faith be able to feel safe in our own country, knowing that the police will protect them from harm?
Perhaps where I'll take that question, Senator, is we've had some success with a relatively new offence relating to the possession of and communication of violent extremist material. This offence focuses on material that portrays terrorist acts. It also material that aids in terms of education of carrying out violence acts in the advancement of a religious, political, ideological cause. This offence, since it has been introduced, has been quite effective in early identification of individuals who are consuming and potentially acting on violent extremist material. You may note, Senator, in the last week we've had a first conviction under these provisions. We're very concerned about the violent extremist material that individual had. And I'll say why we're concerned is not only the nature of the material but how easy it is, how accessible it is, building on what the Commissioner's already said in terms of the role and responsibility for internet service providers and the like in preventing the spread and distribution and access to violent extremist materials, our concern, and more broadly around end-to-end encryption. When it comes to our young people, Senator, we do get, and vulnerable people more generally, Senator, we have noted the digital algorithms that may come into play of people's internet activity and develop, I think, which has been generally considered to be echo chambers, where someone looking up something may be pushed along or drawn along a path, and the result being, Senator, is increased exposure to violent extremist material. We're quite concerned about that as an issue.
And just building on your answer, and thank you for the answer, I'm guessing the AFP does a lot more intelligence work these days as a proportion of its overall crime fighting than it used to because of the internet.
It's always a mix, Senator.
Thank you.
Can I also just take the opportunity to reference Special Operation Avalite, which was stood up in December, that's specifically targeting anti-Semitism in this country. And we have charged 6 people since we stood up that special operation. But I do just want to take the opportunity to thank the community. When we stood up the special operation, we did go particularly to the Jewish community and ask them to assist us and work together in partnership with us in relation to how we could specifically target in the right areas. So I do just want to take that opportunity to thank the community for their partnership with us.